Cashomaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome back to the Geo Gearheads, episode 427. I'm Daryl W4, back again with Chris of the Northwest.
Hey, Daryl, wasn't a 427 an engine option in the Corvette, early Corvette?
I think you're right, but I am getting so confused by different numbers at this point that I'm not even going to try to guess if that is.
27 cubic inches of raw American power.
Wow. Okay. This is going off the rails pretty quickly.
No, we're on the road, not rails.
Well, we're talking today about global positioning, not about cars, though, that can help with cars. Yeah. So, of course, to do that, we had to bring in Limax,
who actually is a rocket scientist.
But he's not a car.
Rocket surgeon? Not a car. Scientist? Something like that. I can't remember anymore. Well, Limax, why don't you take just a moment to introduce yourself? I'm sure there's a cashier or two who hasn't met you, but most people should know you by now.
I suppose so, but okay, I go by the name Limax. I've been cashing since 2004. Looking back at my stats, this is really hilarious. I signed up for premium in January of 2004, didn't find my first cash until the end of February 2004, and found a total of 3 caches that year.
Ooh,
yeah,
you're so
you wonder why I say every cache is a milestone.
Well, it is. I mean, I don't know what number I'm at. Let's say I know I passed 3,200. Let's say I'm at 3,213. You know what? I'm not going to find that number again.
I'm close to 2530 now.
So,
I found 2525 very recently. That was my more significant milestone that I had. So
nice.
Yeah. Of course, I'm still alive too.
Nice. Now, we're here tonight to talk about global positioning. And we're not talking just GPS satellites, but we're talking about some of the interesting things at, what involved in global positioning. It doesn't have to be satellite communication. In fact, we're going to go to some of the very old methods of locating yourself on the globe. And, you go, well, nobody does that anymore. Well, it lays the foundation of what GPS is today.
That's right, it does. And there actually still are people who do what they call it, of course, the term just went
getting lost.
So celestial navigation.
Okay.
Guiding themselves by the stars or by the sun or by the moon, things in the celeste. No, that's a musical instrument. That can't be it.
Things in the celestial heavens.
Yes, the geo heavens. And of course, people have needed to be able to find themselves ever since they started exploring the seas. I mean, first the Mediterranean, then the Atlantic, Pacific, all of that, and they needed a way to find themselves out there. And of the two of those, latitude is definitely the easier of the two. It's easy to find where you are in relation to the North Pole, South Pole, or the equator, as opposed to longitude, which they have tried a lot of different methods for, but really the most accurate way, and the way that's even done today, is by time difference.
Mm-hmm.
Traveling so far, and then that is your however many minutes you are from where you were, so that's how you determine where you are. And that's a deep dive all in itself there. We're actually going to concentrate on our latitude this time because it is the easier of the two.
Well, I remember okay, I didn't read the book, but I've got the synopsis of, finding longitude. And that was a huge race because it was important for, the British explorers to know where they were, so that, as they're going out and discovering new lands, how do you tell somebody where it is?
Right, exactly. And the people actually at the Greenwich Observatory are the ones that really started looking into that. And it was astronomers that started looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
I said I wasn't going to talk about longitude, but it really is.
Sorry, I did. So that's okay. You didn't. I brought it up.
Yeah, but there was actually, looking back at the longitude prize had been around since about the 1600s. From what little reading I was doing, like I said, I was concentrating on latitude, but from what I did read, one of the more notable names who I think he actually got a grant for this, but didn't really go anywhere. Galileo actually had his name in the ring for this.
Okay.
And this was right after he discovered the Jovian moons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the book I was reading, I think he discovered, I want to say 6 or 7 of them. I don't really remember. The book I read says, yeah, we know 12 now, and of course that was 1980.
Right.
Since then, with all of the exploring space probes and things we've had going there, we know that both Jupiter and Saturn both probably have an uncountable amount of satellites around them.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, let's see. I'm going off the top of my head.
Okay.
So you can't quote me. I know Jupiter's got at least 30 now, if not more. I don't know how many Jovian moons there are now. Saturn's got probably well over 100 that they count as moons or satellites.
Okay.
And well, I mean, okay, Saturn's got this this big ring of dust around it.
Yes.
And so as a result, there just happens to be quite a bit.
Sure.
In that,
some of those particles of dust are quite large.
Yeah,
large enough to be an official satellite.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's something that actually has its own gravity that you could stand on, rather, and that's without heavy boots, of course.
Oh, that's why they always want to put me in cement boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the first ways they were actually trying to determine longitudes was by lunar eclipses, because they could predict lunar eclipses, and so they knew what the local time was for that. And so you could be somewhere else doing your observation. Oh, look, here's a lunar eclipse. What's the local time? And then use that to determine longitude. It was iffy at best. They tried quite a bit of times. In fact, Christopher Columbus did it twice, and second time he did it, he was off by quite a ways, but they kind of speculate that's because he wanted to prove that he was actually at the East Indies.
Oh, interesting.
Rather than the West Indies. Yeah. But yeah, that's we don't know for sure.
Sure.
But yeah, getting back to Galileo, he observed local lunar eclipses with the Jovian moons that he was able to see with the telescope. And so he said, well, these are regular things, so we can use this. As long as we got times we can use this, you just need a telescope to do it. Well, there's the problem. Have you ever tried using a telescope out in the sea on a moving boat?
Oh, I'm not even good with binoculars out on a moving boat.
Right. I mean, how can you concentrate on something as far away as Jupiter with a telescope and try to get accurate readings?
You can put it on a chicken's head. Have you ever noticed that no matter how you move a chicken, their head stays in the same spot?
I actually tried that back when we used to have chickens. I actually tried that.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. Yeah, my wife told me, don't do that to the chickens anymore, please.
They're just dizzy when I'm done, honey. They're okay.
Yeah, they're fine. They're just fine. Yeah. Complete tangent right now.
Oh, sorry.
I'll get back to what I'm talking about.
Let's get back to our jovial moon.
But there with the latitude stuff, it was they did try all these different methods, so they didn't have to have a really accurate accurate clock that could, a really accurate portable clock. And yeah, longitude. I read the book years ago, and I didn't get a chance to read it again this time. I accidentally picked up 2 copies. I've got Longitude and the Illustrated Longitude.
Ooh.
My girlfriend takes a look at the second one and goes, "Isn't that the same book?"
Yeah, but this one
Oh
has
yeah,
pictures.
it is. It's got the same chapters and everything. Just got more pictures.
Yeah. That's the one I should be reading.
Yeah.
I like the pictures.
Yeah, well, my library happened to have both copies. So
Nice.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
Okay, so when I think of latitudes, which we want to talk about,
right?
I go right to the prime meridian or 0. Right, that's where we should start. And are these in minutes and seconds because it's kind of based off of time?
It is. Yeah, that's why latitude is starting the prime meridian, Greenwich. Greenwich Mean Time, which actually where they say 0 is, it really isn't. It's actually 4. But
interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, they had to pick a spot.
They had to pick a spot, right? And the surveys of the time were really good. In our show notes, I included a YouTube video from Tom Scott, who does a lot of the sort of stuff, and he was actually talking about.
I'll put that into
the Earth really isn't exactly a smooth sphere; it's bumpy.
Okay. I pasted that into the chat, so anybody following along, don't go watch it now, but you can come back. Yeah. And if you're watching this later, that's okay. Go ahead, pause the video, watch it, come back, and then you'll go, oh.
Yeah. When that one popped up in my feed, it's like, oh, I got to watch that one. So, yeah. But, it's, and, the whole talk about, trigonometry, everything else. I mean, it's been, we've talked about stuff in degrees for quite a while. I believe you are right, and that's something I haven't looked into. So we can speculate and call ourselves authorities of the mind.
I do that all the time. I say this is the way it is, and then the next show, 18 people have said, "Chris, you're wrong," and then I'll go correct myself and say, "Hey, I had it wrong." But right now, we are the authorities.
Right, and they divide it in minutes and seconds, and they do that for latitude as well as longitude. I mean, it would make sense, but it's when I do conversions, I actually think of it as hours, minutes, seconds, even though I'm converting to decimal degrees.
Right.
So, but I think hours, minutes, seconds, I'll weight its degrees. So most likely that is a result of the longitude problem. I just saw Ian's comment there in the chat.
On a boat says, I feel like Daryl's sitting back, relaxing, enjoying an ice cold Coke and watching the show. Daryl's actually dealing with some issues right now, work related. So we're going to let him finish that up. He'll jump in when he gets a chance. But, far as we know, he could be just sitting back enjoying an ice cold Coke. I don't think he is, though.
No, it would probably be a little bit stronger than a Coke.
Yeah.
Especially if it's work related.
Maybe coffee.
Yeah, I'm not a Coke drinker, so it's definitely not a Coke.
Oh, okay.
I do have my iced tea though.
Oh, is it just iced tea?
It is just iced tea. From my favorite barbecue place.
A Coke would be more fun.
I don't know about that.
American Heroes.
Well, it's actually Mission Barbecue.
Yeah, I've heard of that place. We don't have one out here.
We're regulars there, so
Oh, and he's gone.
Oh, and there he went.
Okay, so where were we? Oh, so Daryl's drinking, and we're talking about finding yourself, and this is before the summer of love when everybody found themselves.
Exactly.
Okay,
at least a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah.
The summer of love, 1690.
It still had a 6 and a 9 in it. Yes.
Yeah. And no, it was 67, wasn't it?
Oh, I think it was.
Everybody thinks it's 69, but I don't think it is.
No, it's 1967. I think you're right. Yeah. It was not 1969. 1969 was Woodstock, I believe.
Yes.
But 67 was the summer of, So
Again,
yeah.
all this useless information in my head, and I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
So, one of the questions I asked you, and I know I'm jumping the gun.
Sure.
When we started this, I'm like, wait a minute. How do the folks on the International Space Station determine where they are? Because I believe they're still below the GPS satellites, but they're at a spot in space that GPS really isn't designed to work well with.
That's true. I think I'm guessing ground stations actually do relate their position. It's really, I'm finding this hilarious. Being a patron of your other show, I just heard episode number 2 where you and Jim were actually discussing this, and because the geocache had just been placed on the International Geostation.
The travel bug was placed on the International Space Station.
Right.
Yeah, we want to say it's a geocache. We want to claim it as that, but it's really not.
Right. Yeah, I don't, the height of the GPS satellite, actually of GPS, Galileo, Baidu, the Japanese one, which I'm not remembering, GLONASS. Yeah, they're all quite a ways up there. And yeah, but as you stated in that show, and as I'm going to say right now, the International Space Station is moving too fast to get a fix. And on the ground here, at least with the older equipment, it's getting better and better all the time. It's determining your position by time differential. I mean, gee, there it is again.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly the source for the clock on the GPS. I'm thinking it gets a source from somewhere, maybe the closest one, and then it uses the other 3 then to say, okay, I'm this far away from this one, this far away from this one by this many seconds. And well, we could go, you could go back and listen to that the old episode on GPS technology that I did. Oh boy, that was, let's see, it was either 2017 or 2016. I think it was 2017. I know I remember the second one I hijacked because I just needed to, but
well, let's back up for a minute. So our location, in modern day, we pull out our phone, we pull out our GPS. It talks to the satellites. No, that's wrong. It listens to the satellites. That's the correct term, right? I know. We say, oh yeah, it's talking to the satellite. It's not. It's receiving signals.
Right.
And those signals are really nothing more than I sent this signal at this time.
Right. And I received it at this time, and then using the seconds, it then says, oh, okay, I am this far away from here.
Right.
And
I'm this far away from this satellite. I'm this far away from this satellite, and I'm this far away from this satellite. Thus, I must be here.
That's right.
And
the old Loran system used the same thing, which was ground-based. I mean, it was triangulation by time differential. So
time is the gold standard for location. If you know what time you are currently and what time it took for that signal to get to you, you can figure it out. So time is important, and that's what they determined back in the 1600s. That time is the way to determine where you are.
Right, east to west.
Yeah, on the surface of the globe. And by the way, it is a globe. This flat Earth Society stuff is wrong.
Well, that's funny because my iPad's flat.
Oh,
so.
And I have Google Earth on there, so it must be a flat Google Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, and that was kind of the interesting thing. I mean, yeah, when it comes to longitude, trying to determine your position east and west, you do need time to do that. North and south, you just need a celestial object. I've got, and determined that. I mean, it was the Greeks that determined that. There's a mathematician by the name of Ptolemy. That's Ptolemy, if I remember correctly, is how it's spelled. He actually worked at the Library of Alexandria. I mean, that's where he spent all of his time wrote a book way back when, called Geography, and it's spelled almost identical, except instead of a Y at the end, it's IE.
Okay.
I have not done a search yet to see if I can find a current copy of that, because I'm sure that there is a version somewhere.
That's
But
true. Mm-hmm.
what they did is they took the celestial heavens and flattened it, and that's what we end up with, something like this.
Okay, so what are you holding up here? You've got a big round disc.
I got a big round disc
with a needle lock.
This is called an Astrolabe.
Okay.
And this was one of the first navigational devices made, and there's two sides to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could actually get screen sharing to work, which we were a little bit late because I caused problems. But really, you can kind of see here in this area here, this is the sky. And what they have done, boy, trying to do things backwards, that is so hard.
Isn't it though?
Yeah. What they have done is flattened it. Now this one here is for my position. This is about for around 37 degrees latitude. So, and from 37 degrees on up. Now let me move some things out of the way.
It's a bit like a slide rule in the fact that it has multiple adjustments on there so that you can determine, what about where you are.
Right.
You showed me, you have it in the notes, and I looked at it before the show, how to make your own Astrolabe.
Yes.
And I looked at that and go, oh, this is really quite simple. It's all you're trying to figure out. If it's triangle math. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
Right. If the distance to the thing you're looking at, you can figure out the height.
Right.
By its angle.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Now let's see. I had. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to bring up my document. Yeah. You'd think I could remember. You'd think I could memorize all this stuff. Oh, there is no way.
So in the northern hemisphere, am I right to say they use the North Star or Polaris? Polaris is
one of the spots. This actually, believe it or not, this has the equator on it. That is actually. Let's see. Actually, I think it's right through. Yeah, let me hold it up to the camera. Right through about here.
Okay.
And we've got some stuff below it and some stuff above it. Believe it or not, this up here, the top of it, that's south.
Well, that's back.
So really, there's your compass directions that way.
Okay.
But the way things are determined with it. Now, what we've got here, what we have on the back here, this is called the Alidade, and this is actually your sight thing. As you see here, there are two grooves,
right? Like a gun,
like a gunfight. So you're actually lining this up to looking through this. Now, if you're using it to look at the sun, obviously you wouldn't be looking at it. You'd be looking at the shadows between these two.
Okay.
And then from there, you can actually see here at the top of this one and the bottom of this one, it will show a degree marking.
Okay.
And, depending on what it is you're looking at, you come back over to this side here, and unfortunately, you really can't see it. And like I said, I tried screen sharing and it was a disaster. But there are degree markings around on what they call the plate, which is the piece that actually has all the grooves on it. You move this piece here, not the spinny thing, not the straight thing, but this other piece, which is called the rete, and that's spelled RETE. And you notice on here there are all these little hooks, what I will call hooks, and each of those represents a different celestial object. Now, bring in a little bit closer, you can kind of see on their
Hard to see it.
words. Yeah. Even with the magnifying glass, those are hard to read.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but depending on where you're doing, you can move this piece around, whichever you were looking at, to whatever degrees you observed on the other side, and that helps you determine, where kind of where you are. And that also helps you to read, to actually find the local time. That was one of the things the TED talk that I put on there talks about how to find your local time with this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's funny, the very first book that was written on the Astrolabe was written by somebody you might have heard of called Chaucer.
Oh, he sounds familiar.
He wrote it to his son.
Really?
Yeah, and to tell him
S-O-N, not S-U-N.
S-O-N, yes.
Sorry, I had
as in the offspring of his, well, we're not going there. But yeah, so I mean, his son would have had one of these, would have been able to create one of these, and in so doing, be able to determine the time. Now, I'm still getting used to using this. That does help. Yeah, there's the front end. Now that's actually is identical to mine. I mean, I've got I'm pointing at the screen, like you can see me actually pointing at the screen here. But yeah, that's actually almost identical. That is identical to the one I've got. This one that, well, almost. I think the plate's probably going to be different because it may be for a different latitude than mine.
I don't know if zooming in helps much.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's actually, you notice on here, right above the straight line called the rule,
mm-hmm.
there's that first little piece there. If you look to the far left, I think this is Altair. I know Altair's on there, Vega's on there, Beetlejuice,
Mm-hmm.
One that begins with a D that I'm not remembering the name of. I want to say Danube, but I know that's not right. But with all of these different things, with all these different ones, you can actually say, okay, I can't see things in this direction in the sky, so I could turn over here. Is it? Oh, look, this star is clear, and so I can use that to do my sighting.
Okay.
With that,
yeah. So this really is an early computer.
It really is.
I mean, it's there are adjustments you can make on this to, not only track one star, but you could track multiple stars, and you could verify your readings.
Right.
Given the right amount of time. Now this works at night, on a clear night.
Yes.
What do you do on a night that is not clear, or, during the day? Do you sight
during the day? You can use the sun to sight.
Okay. Knowing that the sun moves across the sky.
Knowing the sun moves across the sky, and in fact, one of the lines on there is the sun elliptical.
Okay.
So let's see. Yeah, that actually is a working Astrolabe. I kind of wish it was a little bit bigger, but I actually picked it up at the Dickens Fair a couple years ago. There's a guy there that sells Astrolabes and puzzle rings. And it's the old puzzle rings that the sultans used to give their mistresses. That once you take it apart, if you don't put it back exactly right, he'll know that you were unfaithful.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little side note.
I'm gonna paste in the chat how to make your own Astrolabe and a link to the PDF to do that.
Okay. Yeah,
this is fun for everyone.
Yeah, that Astrolabe, like I said, it's made for this area. I think the person who made it, who is one of the only few people who know how to make one to that accuracy anymore, I think he lives in Berkeley.
Okay.
They actually had a different model that, well, my girlfriend talked me out of it, but it actually had removable plates.
Oh.
So so depending on where you were, and actually, I think I said that's actually Actually, probably it's not for this latitude. It's probably for this longitude. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Okay.
because movable plates would make more sense if you're, say, in California versus Iowa versus
Mhm.
somewhere on the East Coast or Midwest East Coast. So you would need one of a different latitude. The longitude kind of matters too, because since that is the 2D representation of a 3D object, depending on where you are north to south on that too, will determine how close those lines are to one another and how much it's brain. I wish my brain would work. This would be a good thing.
Don't worry, we're right there with you. Our brains don't work either.
Yeah, I'm going to say how squishy the elliptical is, but that's really not it. But I mean, it's either it's flatter when you are closer to the
right.
Flatter when you're closer to the North Pole, and fatter when you are close to the other one, the equator.
Right. Well, I mean, the Earth is not a perfect sphere.
Right.
It's not going around the sun in a perfect circle. So all of these things, we make the, for simplistic terms, we say, yes, it's a perfect sphere and we go around the sun in a perfect circle. That's easy for everyone to understand. Easier.
Right.
Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
But no, that's not how nature is. Nature is messy.
To say the least, that would be for sure. But the Astrolabe was in use for many years, and one of the things that the merchant told me when I bought it is they used to, there used to be mutinies, of course, quite a bit on ships, and one of the rules of a mutiny, for lack of a better way of putting it, is that a captain could only take what he had on his person. Well, one of the things he would have on his person is this Astrolabe, which is worth a heck of a lot more than all the gold that was on that ship.
Because if you can't get home, it doesn't matter how much gold you have, you'll eventually run out of food and water.
Right, exactly. And there are those that did not catch a clue with that. So yeah, he would usually, you notice mine has a chain on it. That really is for wearing around your neck.
That was the original Flava Flav clock, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, that's where he got it from.
Right.
You think he was a trendsetter? No, he's just following the 1600s.
I seem to recall that Bjork used to wear a clock also when she was with what was the group that she was with before she went solo?
Oh, I can't tell you.
I don't remember either.
I'm not remembering it, but yeah, I mean, they had a few hits in the 80s. But
I was just going to say, one of the cool things that I thought about before the show was that coinsandpins.com has all these navigation coins, and they have a Mariner's Astrolabe coin.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually a trackable coin. I don't know how accurate these would be.
Well, when you start getting smaller like that, the accuracy can go down with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got a few of them that they had sent for giveaways and whatnot early on, some that I actually purchased. So this is the Nocturnal. Whoops.
Okay.
But they have other ones. I don't have a whole lot of them out. I can't even remember what this was. It's like a quadrant, I believe.
Yeah, that would be a quadrant because it's a 1/4.
Yeah. And then they have North and South Hemisphere planispheres.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool coins over there, and they're not terribly expensive.
I have one that will do time zones.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. The back of it I really enjoy. It kind of looks like a
Oh, nice. That's from Coins and Pins as well, or is that?
Yep. Yeah, that's a Coins and Pins as well.
And then they also they do have this one in stock, but they also have this one for under $26 US.
Oh, wow.
So it's
less than I paid for mine.
Yeah, it's cheap, but it is a trackable, fun toy. So I'm thinking I need to order one because I don't think I actually have one.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to show you on the Astrolabe, which I realized I didn't here on the back, it's got 3 different scales on the back of here. You actually have the outer scale is at your degrees up to 90 degrees. The next scale in here are the Zodiac signs, and then the scale below that is the calendar. Now, the one thing about this, it is based on a 365-day calendar. You know, because let's see, 366 days didn't come in till Julius Caesar.
Right.
So, but and then it also has, you see the rectangular section there. That's the time scale, also for helping you determine what time of day it is. You can say, okay, I'm at this many degrees on this date. Now, where, you know, what time is it? And that's where you get the time from. All right. So probably not going to get much time to talk about this one here. This is a sextant. 1/6.
Careful, this is a family-friendly show.
Yes, I know, but 1/6 of a circle.
Right.
Thus the prefix.
Yep.
Yeah, and this one here, this is, let's see, these came into use. I think they started appearing, you know, there about the 1600s, something like this. Also, now you see this one here. The sight's turned down because that's the only way it fits in my container. But you got this. Well, okay.
Well, and the sextant is what we tend to see more on. I'm gonna, you know, I know this is a generalization, pirate movies and such, when they try to determine where they are. You know, oh, there'll be land
exactly
over there.
Yeah. Now the sextant is, this is kind of an interesting thing. Now, there again, I also included a video on how to use sextants for celestial navigation, and the one that he's using, I'm coveting. This one here, I actually bought in a curiosity shop in Half Moon Bay. This is what they call a brass replica, but it looks accurate enough that I could still use it. To get one for mariners use, a plastic one you can get for less than $200. But if you want a metal one, you're looking at $700 on up. And I saw some that were close to $2,000.
Wow. And why is that? Just because they're very intricate?
Part of it's the intricate nature of them. I think part of it, you know, is how much detail they put on them and how accurate you really need it to be. Now, you know, some things I could point out about this one. Let me flip these out of the way. These pieces here that I actually did, these are dark lenses. Really can't see that. That's actually for your sun navigation.
Okay.
You put those down so you don't
blind yourself.
don't destroy your retina. Now I don't know if I can. Okay. Nah, you really can't see it too well, unfortunately. That round circle that you're seeing right there, that actually is, it's actually got a mirror on one half of it, and you can't tell too well. The shiny side is a mirror.
Okay.
And then you got another part that you look straight through. And part of this is bringing whatever your object is down to the horizon to determine, you know, where you know, how high up you are.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, so it's got this lens here, and then it's got a mirror up here. And that's, you know, that's what looks at your other object. So you're looking through the mirror at this half, you know, that's the mirror that goes with this one up here. And then this is the one where you're looking straight at the horizon. So it's bringing whatever you are looking at down to the horizon, you know, by tilting, you know, this piece stays there.
Right.
You know, tilting this down so you're where you need to be. One of the things I like about this one, it does have, that is a built-in micro magnifying glass.
Oh, nice.
So you've got your
you
degrees down here, and then on here you've got your partial degrees. So you've got your course movement, and then this one here does your fine movement.
Okay.
So that you can then get as accurate as you want to. And there again, the one that the fellow was using in that YouTube video that I showed you, it's his is much more precise. This is a replica, a brass replica. I do not know really how accurate it is. I think it's
Okay.
more meant as a showpiece, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
But at Curiosity Shop, yeah, it's one of my favorite places to visit every time I go to Half Moon Bay, and my girlfriend has started holding my wallet every time we go there.
Well, I was just going to say something like that really puts into perspective how economical a GPSR actually is. Even the most expensive geocaching GPSR is
Right.
cheaper than sextants. A good sextant would be.
Well,
Yeah.
and look at the sheer time savings. Okay.
Yeah.
So not only can you spend up to, $750, $2,000 for a good sextant, but that's only going to give you, part of the equation of where you really are.
That's true.
Right.
So once again, we're dealing with, triangle math, right? So if the horizon, the base of the triangle, and how high up you're looking, you can figure out based on that angle, if you know the angle at which you're looking, you can figure out how high up, how far away you are from what you're looking at.
Right.
So
unless you have something like this.
Hold on. Let's zoom in. Ooh. That is so ephemeral.
Yes. And
the Astrolabe World Ephemeris.
Yeah. And this says, featuring there I go, try to go backwards again. Longitudes and declinations of the sun, moon, planets, Chiron, and the asteroids. So, I mean, it's got tables.
Oh, that is a fun read.
Yeah. Now, for celestial navigation, something like that is needed. Now, that is overkill. And seriously, I don't know, but this one may be more towards doing horoscopes with a astrolabe than anything else. Okay. I really don't know for sure, because I think, part of what is needed for accurate horoscopes is determining where planets are at, where certain celestial objects are at the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into astrology, and I've known some people who
and that's one of the reasons why you can get these reproductions of these ancient navigation items.
I think so. That might be part of it. I know in the case of the sextants, there are some mariners who still do learn how to do celestial navigation. The one advantage is that does not require batteries.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that a lot of people are taught that for those, in case you have to sail around the world scenarios.
Yeah. Well, okay. I've seen the size of Lake Michigan too, Daryl. I'm sure there are times, I mean, okay, yes, you are in an enclosed body of water, but the Great Lakes aren't exactly calm all the time.
No. There's like Thunder Bay where they've lost dozens, I think maybe even over 100 ships over the years.
Yeah, and I keep hearing about the town of Wyerton too, which I think is on the Canadian side.
That, if I remember, that's actually the town off of Thunder Bay.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That would make sense then. Yeah, that's where the winds can suddenly whip up in a complete frenzy. Yeah.
What about the Edmund Fitzgerald? I mean,
that one was not near Thunder Bay at all.
No.
That was in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could be out in the middle of one of the Great Lakes and not be able to see land around you, even though it's an enclosed body of water. They're that big.
Yes.
Yeah. Same thing with, say, like the Mediterranean Sea too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would have been where the Greeks would have done a lot of their navigations to begin with, would have just been in that enclosed area, so to speak.
So the question really is, have you ever tried to find a geocache location using any of these, we'll call them arcane navigation technologies?
I have not yet. It is a challenge
Uh-huh.
that I'm willing to take some time. Unfortunately, it's like, yeah, I've had I've had these instruments for over a year now, and in my copious amount of free time, I haven't had much chance to really play with them. I mean, I've got books on them. I mean, yeah, Daryl and Chris usually see my library card
Yes.
of books that I get for something like this, of which maybe half of them I might glance at.
Well, it just seems that almost any of these techniques would be especially difficult to do in most of the good geocaching locations.
I would think so, because most of the good ones have tree cover.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
so,
talking
yeah.
about trees, you're talking about buildings, bluffs, something that's going to block your views.
Yeah. I was showing this one to Chris earlier before we started. This is another one on making traditional navigation tools. This includes the latitude hook also, which was an earlier way of determining latitude. Plus you like a sundial, a nocturnal, a cross staff. I mean, just a lot of early equipment that was used in in navigation.
Nice.
And this is the one that I'm really wanting to read sometime, and I haven't taken the time to. The Theory and Design, Manufacture, and Use of the Astrolabe.
I'm thinking these are very valuable pieces of literature that you need to hang on to, because after we have our great pandemic, we're going to need people to rebuild the society.
Of course.
Mhm.
I'm all set here. It's like, this one here, I mean, this is probably used in navigation also. Oh, this one doesn't have a hook. I thought this one had a hook. Same Curiosity Shop. That's a compass and sundial.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And again, it's a brass replica.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got your altitude adjustment here. Your gnomon is right there. And then this is a compass in here, which you can then, the needle is down right now, but I can release the needle here. So now it's able to spin, and then I can just lock it back into place. And then it's like, okay, now I know that's north or whatever, and and then be able to set up my sundial to be able to tell the time.
That seems like an awful lot of work. I'll stick to my watch.
Yeah.
These sorts of things are just are most of them are curiosities.
I was just going to say they're curiosities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's kind of fun looking at where we came from with what we used.
It's
before
amazing.
We had all of this trash up in space.
Yeah. It's amazing that anybody found their way around with this reliably. Hey, yes, I can get you back to this place that I found. Here, go here. How? Okay.
Right.
And the principles of the way that the GPS figures out all of this stuff is not all that different.
Exactly.
Right. And we could talk about what came before the GPS. Timation was the first one that they were trying to do with that. Again, I believe I talked about that on the first show I was on.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Position.
And that was the one that was in the 60s, correct?
I believe so.
I think it was like 69 or something like that they actually launched the
I want to say more like 62, but I just heard a podcast on this recently. But timation is time and navigation, or using time for navigation. And
they only launched I think 2 satellites out of that.
Right.
Yeah, it was a proof of concept more than anything else, and by the time they actually got to the second satellite, they had already determined that they were onto something, but this wasn't it.
Right. And I know in the meantime, L'Oreal came in to play with what they were doing, land-based, for sea navigation also. Yeah, if we want to, I mean, we can get into all of the different datums that were used over the years to try to determine our location. Which we've now standardized with WGS 84, and I think they're coming out with a new one soon. Were they talking about updating WGS 84?
Right, every 20 years or whatever it is, they do an update. No, it has to be more than that because we've missed the 20-year mark.
Right.
But the whole thing with WGS 84 is the 84 stands for 1984.
Right.
Right.
Well, and before that, I mean, at least in the United States, it was NAD 29, which was North American datum 1929.
Yeah, there is a follow-up to that one, I thought, from like the 60s or 70s.
Probably.
But yeah, so it's probably every like 40 years that they do the update on WGS, because we're coming up to it, and it's probably like, every 40 years they're going to do an update. And if I recall, part of the reason that they have to do that update is for the shifts in the magnetic fields. Am I wrong in that?
That sounds.
I thought it was also continental drift and other things.
Yeah, I do remember the drift factoring into it, but I can't remember what that was about, because that was, I thought, more for maps.
Well, I mean, we have continental drift. I mean, that is going to they're going to have to redo survey stuff for that.
Right. Well, and we have the earthquakes and whatnot that have actually shifted landmass.
Right.
Japan and Chile both had issues with, I think it was Chile that was off like 40 or 50 feet in some cases.
Yeah,
after their
I seem to
earthquakes.
recall something about that. And I actually found out recently, that California is not all on one plate. There are two plates in California that are opposing one another.
Is it 2 plates or 3? I was thinking it was 3 plates, 2 fault
No, you're right.
lines.
It's 3. It's 3.
Yeah.
Because of all places, just south of Monterey, that part of the coast is on a separate plate from the other two.
Really?
Yeah. I saw that when I was down in Pacific Grove at the Museum of Natural History, actually learning about jade, and found out about this instead.
You got distracted by a shiny object, didn't you?
Oh, never. I do not get distracted by shiny objects.
We're geocachers. We can't help it.
It's like, ooh, look, a new coin, shiny.
Oh, many, many shinies. Yeah, so this, of course, is mostly just for fun that we're getting into it, but it does help understand some of the technology behind it. You spent obviously a whole bunch of money on this stuff already.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say
you're not supposed to tell his girlfriend how much he spent.
Well, we're not talking about how much. It's just we're reiterating that you've put a lot of effort into this. You have a lot of investment.
I do, yes. I actually, when I started really getting interested in navigation, I mean, I was always looking for alternate ways of doing navigation, and it's just fascinating to me how things were done before we have the technology we have now, because there had to be ways to do it. I mean, you have the wayfinding of the almost said the Philippine Islands, but that's not the right area. But the areas south and west of Hawaii, where which was, we will say, somewhat demonstrated in the movie Moana, but I'm sure they simplified it quite a bit for that, because that's that method unfortunately is being lost. So
yeah, it's hard to keep stuff like this going when you have the cost advantage and the simplicity of things like GPS and GLONASS and Galileo.
Right.
So
JSON, that's the Japanese one.
Oh, wouldn't have thought of that one. In any case, is there anything that you can see coming out of this? Like maybe some cool puzzle caches?
Oh,
maybe I'll have to do some thinking on that. It would have in a puzzle cache of this nature, I would, there would be a lot of explanation. It would almost be, we'll say, the length of an Earth cache.
Mm-hmm.
Because there would have to be some background given on how, how these things are determined.
I would love to see someone put together, and if anyone knows of such a thing, definitely let us know. I would love to see someone put together some simple version of navigation instruction where you like print out this cache page, cut out these figures, and assemble your own astrolabe. But it's not a real astrolabe. It's just,
well, in the chat, there's a PDF on how to make your own astrolabe.
Oh yeah, no. But I'm saying,
for this particular puzzle.
Oh, something that's overly simplified that you couldn't mess up, but that still gives you some of the concepts.
Would not be paperless caching. Yeah,
no,
would not be paperless caching anymore.
Exactly. But I could just see someone doing something like that. That would be absolutely fun. One cache takes you the whole day, but at the end you have this paper, sextant that you've built that helps you find the cache.
That would be cool.
It
would almost be like a board bridge sort of thing.
I don't have a clue how this would work, but I can see something like this that someone has done, and I'm just waiting for someone to tell us what that is. All right. Well, thank you so much, Limax, because this is really entertaining. Probably not all that useful, but boy, I just want to go and spend way too much money now as well.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, for the record, my girlfriend was with me when I bought the Astrolabe.
You've got a winner when she's arguing for it as much as you want to buy it.
Yeah, she did talk to me about out of the one with the removable plates. But I agreed with her.
Since you're not actually using it for navigation.
But it's a shiny.
Like, oh, can we take this to Iowa?
You can. It won't do us any good there. I've got to get the removable plates. I'll go back. I'll be right back.
Oh, how amazing though. Well, thanks again. And we'll definitely have to get you back on the show to talk about some more cool navigation stuff in the future.
Well, we only covered latitude tonight. We got to cover longitude.
Yeah.
Well, we did. We discussed longitude a little bit, but we do need to do a deeper dive into longitude.
So much to talk about in so little time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks again. For next week, we're going to be talking about GSAC with GSM times 2. The following week is going to be our next randomized show, so we're going to have a bunch of stuff for that one. And if you have anything you want to submit that you think we should be talking about, drop us an email at geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com for any of those topics that you want us to discuss on the show. Then the week after that, episode 430 is going to be talking about road caching, but it's tips from the Geo Woodstock Committee. So we've got 3 great shows coming up and working on many, many more.
Until then, make sure you check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2020 by Daryl Wattenberg, all rights reserved.
Social Medias.